Welcome back to your friendly neighborhood film fan. I'm Oliver Jessen, and today we're reviewing Tales from Earthsea, another Ghibli film, this time directed by Gorō Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki's son, and it came out in 2006. I hate to admit it, but this was probably the first disappointing Studio Ghibli film that I've seen. Before watching this film, I looked around at a couple sites to get a rough idea how everyone actually felt for the film, and it was all very mixed. I didn't really get a clear idea of what people saw in it. I saw a lot of people saying it was terrible, I saw a lot of people saying, it's alright, but I didn't have high expectations going in. I did want to love this film, believe me, I wanted to love it. It looked like it would take me through this massive, epic, magical, and adventurous journey, but it was very lacking in a plethora of different aspects. I tried really hard to like this film, and for, I think, about the first hour, it was alright, but the almost 2-hour runtime left me bored and just tired. This film took me, I think, 2 or 3 days to watch because of the god-awful pacing of this film, and the fact that nothing really happens in it. The film itself was so boring. There was no real plot or any goals in sight for the main characters, who are all quite basic and really not given much opportunity to grow, in particular the character of Sparrowhawk and Tenar. Even the protagonist, what's his name, Prince Aaron, had very little character development, which was odd seeing as in the first 10 minutes of the film, he literally kills his father for no reason, and then should have gone on this sort of emotional journey of redemption, but his hardship doesn't really turn around until like the 40-minute mark or something like that. And when the film actually eventually gets around to that point, and touches on these important themes of life and death, they were already introduced so late into the film, and other important stuff was happening, and they didn't really get enough time or attention needed to expand on these big important themes, and my attention was already extremely diminished, so I couldn't have cared less about what was happening at that point. I feel like the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues with this film in terms of its planning and Gorō Miyazaki's directing, is that he chose to adapt 6 different Earthsea books, the entire Earthsea collection, which is 6 different books, into one not even 2-hour film. And it really shows that, it really highlights how so many different aspects were left out. I haven't actually read the Earthsea books myself, so I can't really make any comparisons between the source material and the film, but I've heard a lot of people saying that they left out massive amounts of important details in this film that needed to be added to sort of make it seem better or less awful than it already was, I would say. I did understand that this entire Earthsea series was a magical, adventurous world similar to Lord of the Rings, and that actually got me excited because I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings, but the massive lack of magical aspects in this film was a shame, despite, being supposed to have being featured a lot throughout it. At the start of the film, you see, 2 dragons fighting, and it looks really awesome, and it looks very intense, I was excited to see that going on with the film, but throughout the rest of it, there were, barely any magical elements, and it felt very staggered in a way. A funny little fact that I have about this film and its premiere, that with Gorō Miyazaki and his father, and I feel bad for Gorō Miyazaki, and I realize that Hayao Miyazaki, despite being a brilliant director, is actually, he's so mean. So during the premiere for his son's film, Miyazaki actually walked out to smoke a cigarette, and then these cameramen followed Miyazaki out and asked him why he walked out, and Miyazaki said, he's not ready, as in, he's not ready to direct films. And to a certain extent, I feel bad for Gorō Miyazaki having to, know that his father isn't proud of him and doesn't accept the fact that this is like his work. But then again, this film really isn't that great. There's not much that this film does that makes it stand out in any particular way. I'll talk about what I did like about this film, although there isn't really that much to talk about, but nevertheless, I found the cinematography, or the film in general, to be jaw-dropping. The colors and animation style was just beautiful, and probably one of my favorite parts about it. It definitely stands high in Ghibli's animation skills. There are some shots throughout this film that genuinely just look like oil paintings. They're so gorgeous, and it's a technical marvel. Moreover, the score, this time by Tamiya Terashima, not Joe Hisaishi, was a delight, and it was very heartfelt, especially the theme Teru no Uta, which was just so emotional, and the scene, including that music, it fills my heart with joy, and pain also, because when you find out about Teru's backstory, it's a whole thing to deal with, but that part is really well done. Also, when animating, these fighting scenes at the end of the film, the final fight between Cobb and Eren actually looked very well. Cobb's, final form was creepy and terrifying, and I loved it. And when she tightened her hold on Teru, her arm sort of reminded me of All for One in My Hero Academia when he was fighting All Might, which, kept me entertained throughout this dull film. And the ending was quite obvious, with Teru somehow ending up being a dragon. It's weird. It's really weird, but, yeah. I think a lot of people expected it by that point. What I would basically compare this to is Princess Mononoke in terms of the scale that Tales of Earthsea brought to the table, but it definitely lacked in a driving story that Princess Mononoke did actually have, and a sort of purpose that made Mononoke so much better than this film, or just any other Ghibli film, I'd say, apart from When Marnie Was There. When Marnie Was There is the worst Ghibli film, and I hate it. I can't stand it. Watching this film and learning more about Gorō Miyazaki as a director, I think he has a chance. I think he has definitely improved since this film Tales of Earthsea with his other film From Up on Poppy Hill, which is much better, and there are a lot less issues in that film compared to this one. But I feel like if one takes this as a standalone film, it really can't hold up to anything. There's nothing good. Well, there's not much good in this film. I'd give Tales of Earthsea a 4, maybe a 5 if I'm pushing it. It was a quite long and lacking film with some pretty visuals, but that was about it. Definitely one of Studio Ghibli's weaker films in my opinion.